The Raiders looked to Southern California for an offensive coordinator, only it wasn't UCLA's Chip Kelly. We're going to straighten out the coaching mess. Jim Harbaugh says howdy to the Chargers scribes, and LeBron James and Anthony Davis skipped Lakers versus Celtics. Ruh-roh. Good morning. I'm James. This is your daily dose of sports and snark for the greatest sports city in the world, Los Angeles. This is the faithful Angelenos Morning Report. So it is February 2nd, 2024. By the time you see this clip, I'll be on a plane heading to St. Louis for work. Woe is me. I'm missing my wife already. By the way, we did add a new subscriber to the Angeleno Familia. Thank you for getting in on the ground floor. We're going to do our best to keep you informed about LA. And if you like being in the know about LA sports, click-clack the like button. Click-clack the subscribe button. There's a notification bell. Hit that. It lets you know we drop new content. Sharing is caring. Let people know we exist. By all means, comment. We do our best to get back to you guys. I look forward to hearing from you. Now, before we go through the news and notes, a look at the scoreboard. No LeBron James. No Anthony Davis. No way in hell the Lakers were supposed to beat Boston, but they did. 114-105. Austin Reeves, he flat out went nuts. Game high 32 points. The Lakers are back at 500. UCLA, speaking of crawling back to kind of mediocrity, they're now 10-11. They beat Oregon State 71-63. Dylan Andrews scores 18 points. And meanwhile, USC. Frankly, the less said about them, the better. They're on a 6-game losing streak after losing to Oregon 78-69. And meanwhile, today the Clippers are playing at Detroit at 4. So the scribes love to call it a coaching carousel when the season's over and people start switching teams. But what we're going to talk about today isn't as much of a coaching carousel as it is a mosh pit. See, the scribes, they give us these breathless thirst trap rumors. And, well, they're kind of correct about the name, but they just don't know what the hell team they're going to. And because of that, if you notice on our lineup of things to talk about over on the far end of the board, I have grouped together USC, UCLA, and the Rams. It will tie together somewhat. For example, just yesterday, the grossly ill-informed Mike Florio of Pro Football Talk / NBC Sports told us all that UCLA coach Chip Kelly was angling to get hired by the Raiders. Did he have any sources from the Raiders? Any sources from UCLA? Nope. But only now we can validate Florio is full of garbage because ESPN is reporting that Las Vegas does in fact have a new offensive coordinator. Only he's not from UCLA, he's from USC. It's Cliff Kingsbury. Now, I have to be honest with you. I do not like this hire for the Raiders for the same reason that I don't think it's a big deal to the Trojans football program. I'm okay with USC losing Kingsbury because Lincoln Riley is the offensive play caller anyway. Kingsbury, who previously tried to bring the air raid offense to the NFL before, when he was the head coach of Arizona, he was merely an analyst for USC. The reason, though, I am not optimistic about him going to the Raiders is because I have yet to see the air raid offense work in the NFL, period. So where the hell does that leave Chip Kelly of UCLA? Well, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler is claiming that Kelly is being considered for the Washington Commanders offensive coordinator gig. And I have to be honest with you. I don't trust Mike Florio. I barely trust Jeremy Fowler, but I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I have even less to go on with this story than I did with that trash story from Florio. And I'm starting to wonder, are the scribes being led by the nose by Chip Kelly's people? As if Kelly is sending trial balloons as a signal to the UCLA athletic department. That signal being, look, the fans may hate me and they may want me fired, but I have connections across the game, and you will be out of a head coach at the worst possible time if you don't back me up. That's a guess. Not saying I know for sure. I don't have any sources on this. I'm just saying it seems like a negotiating ploy to make sure he doesn't get run. Meanwhile, the Rams have finally plugged one coordinator role by looking in-house. Chris Shula, the grandson of legendary head coach Don Shula, is the new defensive coordinator after spending 7 years working under Sean McVay. NFL media first reported this hire. Where it probably works is that Shula was the pass rush coordinator, and you would figure he would have a good idea of what the front seven of the Rams could do. But I'm still a little iffy about this promotion, because if Shula was so great, why didn't he have a legit shot at the gig before? He's been there 7 years. Shula's been there under coordinators Wade Phillips, Brandon Staley, Raheem Morris. I don't know. I'm not as sanguine on that as I would be the other three. Jim Harbaugh met with Chargers scribes Thursday and said the goal is multiple titles for the Chargers. Well, yeah, you would hope for that, wouldn't you say? Quote, it needs to be multiple championships. We're going to be humble and hungry, unquote. And then once dude ran out of catchphrases you'd be more likely to hear from The Rock, he let us know that he would not commit to retaining any of the current Chargers assistants. Now, I can't blame Harbaugh for that if you notice the results under Brandon Staley. Harbaugh said he doesn't want people, though, to be fooled next season by those pretty powder blue jerseys, that he wants a relentless and physical team. However, we do have a discrepancy in the reporting about how the Chargers are building their coaching staff. MLive.com is a consortium of 9 newspapers in Michigan, and that includes the Ann Arbor News. The reason I'm bringing that to your attention is because earlier this week, I reported that Jesse Minter would leave the Wolverines to become the Chargers defensive coordinator, and I got that report from MLive.com, i.e. the Ann Arbor News. ESPN is pushing back on that, saying Harbaugh hasn't officially made the hire, that Harbaugh has only hired a strength and conditioning coach. Now, as for specific Chargers players, Harbaugh is obviously mentioning how much he loves Justin Herbert. Duh. But we do have clues as to who might stay in the salary cap crunch that the Chargers have. We might. He said players such as Derwin James and Keenan Allen get him fired up on a personal level. Both of them have big contracts. Both of them would be targets for cutting to try to make room under the salary cap, but not if Harbaugh wants to keep them. You got to remember, Harbaugh is getting paid. The new GM, he has a history with Jim Harbaugh. This is all about Jim Harbaugh's vision. If he wants to keep Keenan Allen and Derwin James, then the Chargers are going to have to figure out a way to do that. Straight and simple. We mentioned minutes ago about neither LeBron James or Anthony Davis playing for the Lakers in Boston last night. James may be a minor thing. He has left ankle soreness. They're not calling it a sprain. So you figure if it's just soreness, that's a day-to-day thing. And I don't have an issue with him sitting last night because he's been playing many more minutes than what the Lakers had previously wanted. He played 48 minutes in the double overtime victory over in Golden State last weekend, for example. You want to rest? I kind of get it. Davis, on the other hand, has something called bilateral Achilles tendinopathy. Now, this is different from tendonitis, which is an inflammation of a tendon, which is obviously painful. But tendinopathy indicates that there might be little tears. That's not good. That is not good. Now, the tears can heal on their own because it's not a so-called rupture, full-blown rupture. So yeah, dude, have a seat. But you have to wonder. You do have to wonder if you're a Lakers fan. You can rely that LeBron James and Anthony Davis are going to get injured. You can rely on that happening more so than death and taxes, for Pete's sake. So are the Lakers just whistling past the graveyard on something that'll be far more concerning? For example, about Davis. Remember the last time we heard about a prominent Laker and an Achilles injury? That was Kobe Bryant. And let's be real, definitely wasn't the same player after he came back. We can wipe yet another name off of the idiot scribe rumor board for the Dodgers offseason, and it is a big one. Milwaukee has traded their ace and one-time Cy Young Award winner Corbin Burnes to Baltimore. The Orioles sent 2 prospects to the Brewers in the deal. Now, the Dodgers could have probably topped that offer, but here's the thing. Burnes is in the final year of a contract. LA, this offseason alone, has thrown more than $1 billion of contracts to free agents, or even people they've acquired in trades. At some point, you got to figure even the Dodgers are like, whoa, guys, we're not made of money. It may seem like it, but we're not. And by the way, keeping up with that Dodger board, the scribes linked 42 players to come to the Dodgers. They were right on only 6 of them, wrong on 18, with a few left over. So in other words, so far the scribes are 3 times as likely to be wrong as right, which sounds about right considering the current state of American sports journalism, but maybe that's me. Oh, if only there were more WNBA fans in Los Angeles. Hell, if there were WNBA fans anywhere. If there were, this rebuild of the Sparks would be much bigger news. Because, for example, if I told you that the Clippers flushed away 2 of their best players out and wound up with 3 lottery picks, some of you would be feeling simultaneous 2 diametrically opposing emotions. Despair to the point of suicide, and yet optimism for a better tomorrow. How the hell does that work? Optimistic anguish. Because you would know that the Clippers would be trash next year, but ooh, lottery picks, right? Well, that's exactly the situation the Sparks find themselves in. The Sparks already have 2 lottery picks in the upcoming WNBA draft, the 2nd overall and the 4th overall. But then they executed a sign and trade of guard Jordan Canada with the Atlanta Dream. Canada is a former UCLA player. She's won 2 WNBA titles. She and the 12th overall pick go to Atlanta. Meanwhile, the Dream's number 8 overall pick comes to Los Angeles. So LA now has 3 of the top 8 picks in the WNBA draft. They're going to be super young, super inexperienced, but if you hit on all 3 of those picks, and it is considered a deep draft pool, so it is possible, Sparks might have something. Optimistic despair. Ascribed for something called Hoops Hype, as if we're supposed to take anything with the word hype in the name to be serious, claims the Clippers are finding out if there's any trade interest for PJ Tucker. Now look, we already knew that. We've been talking about that over the last few weeks. But then the same guy wrote that they're also trying to find out if there's any trade interest for guard Bones Hyland. I can answer that for you. No, there isn't. There is not. This would be, if he is traded, his 3rd team in 2 years. He's 3rd on the depth chart, so shh, there isn't. That is not a story. There is no trade interest for Bones Hyland. Bones Hyland gets thrown in, the Clippers are going to be so relieved. There's no value for Bones Hyland. But then The Athletic, because most of their scribes actually have intelligence, they ask the obvious question. Do the Clippers even need to make a trade? Combine December and January, and the Clippers have won 23 games in those 2 months. So they go to team president Lawrence Frank, who said the team already made its necessary trade when they acquired James Harden from Philadelphia. Meanwhile, the rotation is established. Now, if a guy like me, I look at that team and I will tell you that the one thing that they could stand to do is to try to do something to improve that defense. But all things being equal, at least for the regular season, without injuries, that team is set to make an impact and get a high seeding. But you let me know what you think in the comments thread. Talk to me about how these new coaches are going to impact, say, UCLA, or if Chip Kelly is actually making a threat to leave UCLA, or the Rams' new defensive coordinator. Talk to me about what you think is the impact of LeBron James and Anthony Davis's injuries. And if you enjoyed the conversation, don't forget to subscribe to Faithful Angelenos. We're talking LA sports every single day. Thank you for watching. I'm James. We'll be back tomorrow. Faithful Angelenos is a Kian Cortez Queso production. Take care.